Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Do you ever read this book on bonehead legislation by Dick Hyman? According to the municipal code of the city of Ottumwa, Iowa, I think that's the way you pronounce it, it is unlawful for any male person within the corporate limits of the city to wink at any female person with whom he is unacquainted. So winking is against the law in Ottumwa, Iowa. A Kentucky statute says that no female shall appear in a bathing suit on any highway within the state unless she is escorted by at least 2 officers or unless she is armed with a club. Now, you can laugh, but there are some bizarre sex laws still on the books in this country, and as our guests will tell you, they are not so funny. For example, can you imagine being sent to prison for having sex with your own wife? That's what happened to James Moseley. He was sentenced under Georgia's 156-year-old sodomy law. Police officer Gary Oliverson was suspended without pay for having sex under a Utah law making fornication and sodomy both crimes. Oliverson has filed suit claiming these laws are unconstitutional. Michael Hardwick has already lost his fight over Georgia's sodomy law after taking his case all the way to the United States Supreme Court. Michael is gay. He was arrested in his own bedroom when a police officer serving a warrant on an unrelated case found him having oral sex with another man. We'll hear our guest stories and ask whether government should make laws about sex, or is that just Big Brother in the bedroom? Bizarre sex laws are our focus on this edition of Her Other. Now, before we hear our guest stories, let me just introduce our expert guests in the front row. First, meet Brian Barnard. He is Gary Oliverson's attorney. Also, attorney Robert Giddings. He is a constitutional law expert. He says these laws are still on the books because legislators won't repeal them. He'll tell us why. Sue Hyde is the director of the Privacy Project of the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force. She says these laws are used against unpopular groups. James, you went to jail. How long did you go to jail for?
About 18 and a half months.
18 and a half months for having sex with your own wife?
Yeah.
All right, you better set the scene for us. It sounds so crazy. Why don't you set the scene for us?
Well, the original charge was rape. We were having problems for, quite some time, and I went and spoke to an attorney about filing for divorce and custody of my 2 young sons. She found out about it, and out of an act of desperation, she filed charges against me saying that I had raped her. I took it to trial. I proved my innocence in the trial. She was exposed as being a liar. A couple times she lied, and it was evident that she did.
Now, your wife's not here to give her side of the story, but suffice it to say that you were acquitted on the rape charge.
Right. I was acquitted of all charges that my wife brought against me. However, Georgia brought in the Georgia sodomy statute. In other words, when the judge charged the jury, he told them that if they found me not guilty of the rape charges and the aggravated sodomy charges, that they could find me guilty of consensual sodomy, which was based on my own testimony because, let me back up, when I took the stand, I mentioned the fact that we had oral sex. That's all it took. In Georgia, it's a crime punishable of from 1 to 20 years. So,
oral sex is a crime punishable from 1 to 20 years.
Up to 20 years in prison for having oral sex with your wife or your husband, whichever case may be. It's the same thing, same law.
So in defending yourself against the unfounded charge of rape or even aggravated sodomy, you admitted what you and your wife had been doing in the bedroom.
Right, unknowingly. I had no idea that I was incriminating myself. So I didn't hesitate to get up. Get up there and tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. That's what I was supposed to do. And it landed me in prison.
I won't ask how many members of our studio audience have ever engaged in the activity prohibited under Georgia law, even though we are not in Georgia right now. Suffice it to say that you were shocked.
Very much so. I was shocked from the very beginning of the whole thing that I could even be arrested for rape when it never occurred. It never happened. There was never any intercourse. It just never happened, and they had no evidence to substantiate that. They arrested me on her testimony alone. In other words, she said I did this, and they believed her, so I had to go through the whole process.
After your testimony, and after the jury acquitted you on these more severe charges, did someone come up to you and say, oh, by the way, we're sending you to prison, and this is why?
It wasn't quite like that. The jury found me guilty of consensual sodomy based on in the matter in the way the judge charged them. The judge imposed sentence. He sentenced me to 5 years in penitentiary, to serve 2, and 3 years on probation, and a $1,000 fine.
Come on, Robert, is this really true? I mean, could this happen?
Yeah.
For having oral sex with your wife, you go to jail for 2 years?
We can laugh about the facts, but it's frightening. Mr. Moseley's case is a particularly bad one in that he actually went to prison. What happened in his case was that the prosecutor indicted him on 2 counts. One was rape and the other was aggravated sodomy. Aggravated sodomy simply means that he committed oral sex against the will of someone else. But he was never charged with the regular sodomy, which there's no defense to. If you do it, it's a completed crime.
Wait, are you saying that everyone in the state of Georgia, man or woman, straight or gay, that engages in oral sex is committing a felony?
Yes, the way the statute is worded. It doesn't matter whether you're married or unmarried, or whether you're homosexual or heterosexual. However, the Supreme Court has already ruled, though, that that law would not be applicable to married people. So that even though the law says it's applicable to married people, the court has ruled that it is not.
But single people?
It's applicable to single heterosexuals as well as homosexuals. But what happened in his case, which is so disturbing, is that the judge, on his own, instructed the jury that they could convict him for a crime that he was never accused of in the beginning. So that's why he said that when he was on the stand, he admitted that he had oral sex, because he didn't realize that he could be convicted of that because the prosecutor never brought those charges.
I don't want people to think that we're picking on the great state of Georgia. Let me give you a national survey, a state-by-state breakdown of these laws.
Here we go. You can correct this later. No vote by lighting. 5, 4, 3.
Had the DA respond to your confession, as it were?
She got really irate. It's like she was jumping up and down and trying to make it appear that I had done the lowest, most disgusting thing that a person could do. She said, "You mean your mouth touched her vagina?"
And what did the judge, did he nod and say? Anyway, I don't want you to think that we're picking on the Peach State, on Georgia. I want to give you a state-by-state breakdown of these laws against certain sexual conduct, conduct such as oral sex. In 7 different states, there's a law against it only when it's between homosexuals, people of the same sex. But there are 18 states and the District of Columbia that have sodomy laws, both for straight and gay people. These other 25 states that you see, most, I guess, in the north and the far west, have no sodomy laws whatsoever. Should the government be able to legislate conduct in the bedroom, or is it Big Brother? Bizarre sex laws are our focus. The next 2 stories after this break. Stay with us. Thank you.